She is laughing. That is the first thing you need to understand about this case. She is laughing on her own cell phone while a man suffocates a few feet away from her. She zipped him inside a blue canvas suitcase. He is begging her to let him out. He says her name. He says he cannot breathe, and she giggles and she says, "That is what you get." Then she goes upstairs and she passes out on the couch, and by morning, Jorge Torres Junior is dead. The video is what convicted her, not a witness, not a confession, her own phone, her own voice, her own laugh. I want to walk you through how a 42-year-old mother of two ended up filming the last breaths of the man she said she loved. And why, 2 years after a jury found her guilty, she is still fighting from a prison cell to get that verdict thrown out. Stay with me, because the details in this one are worse than you think. Jorge Torres Jr. was 42 years old. He had grown up in Central Florida. He worked hard. He loved his family, and by every account he was a kind man. He had a quick smile, a gentle way about him. His sister would later say he was the glue in their family, the one who showed up, the one who answered the phone when nobody else did. He had met Sarah Boone sometime around 2019. They moved in together in a small house off a quiet road in Winter Park, Florida. From the outside, it looked like any other couple. But inside that house, something was very wrong. And here is the question the whole case turned on. Was Sarah Boone a frightened abuse victim who finally snapped, the way her defense team would argue for 4.5 years? Or was she something else entirely? Because the things the jury saw on her phone did not look like fear. They looked like cruelty. Let me take you to the night of February 23rd, 2020. It was a Sunday. The couple had been drinking. According to Boone, they had been playing a game. She said Jorge climbed into the suitcase willingly. She said it was a joke, a hide-and-seek thing, she called it. She zipped it shut, and then, she said, she forgot he was in there. She said she went upstairs. She said she fell asleep. She said when she came back down, he was gone. That was her story. That was the story she told detectives the next morning when she finally called 911. And then the detectives looked at her phone. There were 2 videos on it. 2. Both recorded by Sarah Boone. Both times stamp the night Jorge died. In the first one, you hear him inside the suitcase. His voice is muffled. He says, "Sarah." He says her name over and over. He says, "I cannot breathe." You hear her laughing. You hear her say, "Yeah, that is on you." You hear her take another sip of whatever she was drinking. In the second video, recorded a few minutes later, she walks up to the suitcase, and she taps on it, and she says in a sing-song voice, "For everything you have done to me." Then she laughs again. That is the evidence. Those are her own words, in her own voice, from her own phone. And once those videos entered evidence, the rest of the case was essentially over. But do not skip ahead, because the way this case played out in court, over nearly 5 years of delays and 12 different defense attorneys, is one of the strangest legal stories in recent Florida memory. She was arrested the morning of February 24th, charged with second-degree murder. And then, the circus began. Sarah Boone could not keep a lawyer, not one, not 2. By the time she finally went to trial in October 2024, she had cycled through at least 10 attorneys. Some she fired, some quit. One was removed by the judge for getting into shouting matches with her client in open court. Another said she could not work with a client who refused to take any legal advice. Another tried to withdraw the day before trial. The case was delayed again and again. COVID delayed it. Hurricane Milton delayed it. Her attorneys delayed it. And through all of it, Sarah Boone sat in the Orange County Jail, writing letters, filing handwritten motions, accusing judges and prosecutors and her own lawyers of conspiring against her. By the time jury selection finally began on October 14th, 2024, the judge had reached the end of his patience, and Sarah Boone had made a decision that legal experts still shake their heads about. She decided, against all advice, to take the stand and testify in her own defense. Think about that. The central piece of evidence against her was her own voice, on her own phone, laughing while a man suffocated. And she decided she would be the one to explain it. Her defense was battered spouse syndrome. She told the jury Jorge had abused her for months. She said he had kicked her, punched her, choked her, sexually assaulted her, stabbed her. She said she was terrified of him. She said the suitcase was an accident. She said the laughter on the video, that was nerves. That was trauma. That was a woman who did not know what to do. The prosecution had a different story. The prosecution showed the jury the videos. They played them twice, 3 times. They paused on the moment she laughs, and they asked the jury a simple question. Does that sound like a woman in fear for her life? Or does that sound like a woman who is enjoying this? They also brought in the medical examiner. Jorge Torres Junior did not die quickly. He did not die in minutes. He died over the course of hours, slowly, while oxygen ran out inside that suitcase. He had bruises on his face. He had injuries consistent with being hit. And the toxicology showed he had alcohol in his system, yes, but nowhere near enough to render him unconscious. He was awake. He was aware. He knew what was happening to him. For hours. The prosecutor asked the jury to imagine that. Zipped inside a suitcase, in the dark, hearing the woman you live with laugh at you while you die. The jury took less than 2 hours, guilty of second-degree murder. On December 2nd, 2024, Sarah Boone stood in front of Judge Michael Kranick for sentencing. Jorge's family spoke first. His sister looked at her. She said, "You did not just take my brother. You laughed while you did it." Boone sobbed through the entire thing. When it was her turn, she denied everything. She said the trial had been unfair. She said her attorneys had failed her. She said the judge had been biased. She never, not once, apologized to Jorge's family. The judge gave her the maximum: life in prison, Florida Department of Corrections. No possibility of parole under Florida sentencing guidelines for this offense. Now here is where most people think the story ends. But it does not. Because Sarah Boone has spent every single day since that sentencing trying to get the conviction thrown out. And the way she is going about it is, frankly, unlike anything I have ever covered. She filed a motion for a new trial before the sentencing was even finalized. It was denied. She fired her trial attorneys. She was appointed an appellate attorney on December 18th, 2024. By February of 2025, she was complaining that he had not contacted her. By July, she was claiming he had, in her own words, ghosted her. She fired him. She got another one. She fired that one too. As of the latest court filings, she is on her 13th attorney. Her appeal brief was due, got extended again, and as of late last year, the court warned her that if a brief was not filed, the entire appeal would be dismissed. She has written to the court herself, by hand, from a prison cell, saying she does not know who her attorney is. She does not know the status of her case. She does not know what is happening. Some legal observers believe she is deliberately sabotaging her own appeal. Others believe she genuinely cannot get along with any attorney long enough for one to do the work. Either way, the clock is running out. And none of it, changes the fundamental fact of this case. There is a video, on her phone, of her laughing while Jorge Torres Junior suffocated in a suitcase. He said her name. He said he could not breathe. And she said, "That is what you get." I have covered a lot of cases. I have seen a lot of evidence. I have never seen evidence like that video. Jorge's family has asked the public to remember him, not the woman who killed him. His sister said at sentencing that Jorge was a man who gave everything he had to the people he loved, that he did not deserve to die in the dark, alone, in pain, listening to someone laugh. She said if there was any justice in this world, her brother would be remembered as more than the punchline of a viral video. So, let us remember him. Jorge Torres Jr., 42 years old, a son, a brother, an uncle, a friend, a man who, on the last night of his life, trusted the wrong person, a man whose final words, on the last recording that will ever exist of his voice, were simply her name, Sarah. He said her name over and over, and she laughed. I am Carson Morgan. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe,